I'm ashamed to say it's been 4 years since I last checked in with you. That's disgraceful for somebody trying to run an allotment channel. I have no excuse. I lost my momentum, lost a bit of mojo, had other things going on. Don't we all? No excuse really. So anyway, yeah, it's been 4 years. So I thought I'd come back and give you a little recap of where my plot is now and what my plans are for the future. So yeah, here we go. I'll give you a little guided tour. So here we are, the completed allotment. That's my archway. I have beans growing up there in the summertime. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 8-foot by 4-foot beds down there, 3 8-foot by 4-foots down the centre, and another 4 8 by 4 beds on the opposite side. There's my greenhouse. There's my shed. I don't think I showed you the shed last time. I'll give you a quick look. So that's an 8-foot by 6-foot shed. That's due for a recoat of paint now. Got some trellis up the side with a climbing hydrangea. A huge shrub that's got a bit out of control there. The greenhouse is looking much more lived in when you last saw it. The glass is getting dirty and it's full of all sorts of rubbish that needs a clear out. I've got plans for this, so I'll come back to that shortly. Now, I decided to keep grass on this allotment because, well, it's nice to have the greenery, you know. A lot of other people have got wood chips down, which seems to be quite nice and easy to maintain, and we do get wood chips delivered to the plots, but I just always fancied grass, so I decided to keep it. The downside is I mismeasured my layout. So right, for instance, between each bed there's a 2-foot gap, which is just the right width for getting my little push mower down, because I've no electricity here. So I use my manual push mower and it goes fine between all of these gaps, apart from this one and this one, and around the edge up against the border fence there. So that area gets really out of control because it always waits until I've brought the strimmer down, because I can't push it with the mower, and I never get as nice a finish as I do when I've mowed it properly. Because in the summer this can look really nice, you know, when the grass is nice and tidy and it's kept short, it does look lovely. So I've decided that 1, 2, 3 plots here, I'm going to take those up and reconfigure it so that they run the other way. I might have a long, like 12-foot one or something, but go in the opposite direction, just so that I can get the mower around the edge, because this corner just drives me up the wall. So yeah, top tip for the future: if you're planning your plot out, make sure you leave your spaces wide enough. I just mismeasured it, I got it quite a little bit wrong. Compost has been good this year. I'll just show you what I've got in this bin over here. I've got 3 bins on the go, and I try to turn them over at least twice during a year, and that's what I've managed to create this year. Look at that. That's good compost, that. So that's all ready to go out onto a bed. What I've been doing is any grass cuttings go in there, any weeds that aren't really stubborn perennial weeds, and lots of cardboard from home. I've been tearing it up and putting that in. I'm thinking of investing in a shredder this year, you know, heavy duty one that can shred up cardboard, so that I can keep adding to my compost, because it's expensive. You know, you're looking at £7 or £8 even for the really cheap stuff from B&Q, and if you can make your own and you've got the space, it makes sense, doesn't it? Plus it's doing your bit for the planet and not buying a plastic bag. I don't think I showed you my pond last time. I did have a little pond, one of those little plastic moulded ones, and then I got annoyed with it because you could see the edging and it just looked untidy, so I dug out a bigger one. This is much bigger. It's got rocks all around the edge. It's got a pond liner in there. Over the 4 years that that's been in, no, it actually hasn't, it's only been 3 years since that's been in, it had a leak. There was a really hot summer, I think it was 2018. It was very, very hot, and the water level dropped in the pond, and all around the surface of where the water had dropped to, it just created tiny little holes in, in a perfect horizontal plane all across the top of the water. So I think it was something to do with UV light combined with extreme temperature where the liner was exposed, and it just kept leaking. Every time it got to that level, it would just leak. So I've had to dig it all out, put the fresh liner back in, and touch wood, it's doing okay. So yeah, that was a job I could have done without really having to relay the pond, but you know, such is life. These things are sent to try us. So yeah, I don't know whether I mentioned I was on the committee before. I was a secretary. I had to step down from doing that because it was just messing with my head, to be honest with you. Just dealing with people that say they want a plot and then can't be bothered actually returning your emails. Just please return emails. If somebody contacts you offering you a plot, you're very lucky to get that offer of a plot. So anyway, I stepped down from being secretary but stayed on the committee because the rest of the team are just lovely. I like meeting up with them at meetings. They're a nice bunch of people. So anyway, now I've ended up becoming vice chairman this year, which means I will be chairman next year. And whilst you're in that position of responsibility, I don't know if it's the same for any of you, but with me, I feel like if I'm in an important position, such as being chairman, or at least it's deemed to be an important position, you just try that bit harder and you feel like you have to lead by example. So I'm hoping that this year and next year I'm going to get my act together and get a lot more done on this plot, because I just haven't been dealing with it at all this year. I don't know whether it's a combination of the weather or lots of stuff going on at home, and I've just lost my momentum for it. But I was determined not to give it up because I knew I'd put in so much hard work getting the plot set up the way that I want it. So I just managed to keep it ticking over, keep out of trouble. But no, this year I'm wanting to really make the best of it because I know it's good for me. It's definitely good for your mental and physical health, getting out and about and making things grow and getting some dirt in your fingernails. All the cliche stuff. It's true, it really does work. So even though it's bitterly cold today, because it's about the 4th of January I think it is, it's really cold, but I'm glad I'm here. I've got a babysitter at home for my son, and I know that he's being well cared for, even though he's a little bit off colour today. I'm glad that I'm here. So anyway, I'm going to talk you through my plans for the greenhouse now. So I don't know if you remember, but I used to have a wide shelf all along this side, which was great, but it's really difficult to get in and out. I don't know whether other people struggle, but I'll just step inside. Oh, it's much warmer in here. All these fixings, they're very clever. You know, the way they work, it makes sense, but I just had a real trouble getting that shelf in and out, so it just stayed in all the time. It got in the way of growing tomatoes, and I wanted to have a full greenhouse of tomatoes, so I took the shelf out, had all 3 sides with tomatoes growing. You can see where the strings are, where they were tied up last year. But now I've had a rethink again, because I don't actually really like tomatoes all that much, so why would I dedicate the entire greenhouse for growing something that I don't really like and are actually quite cheap to buy? So I've decided that this is just going to be a seedling house from now on. So I'm going to build some wooden freestanding units that can go along this edge here and along this edge here, and then have one in the centre back. So, you know, waist height shelving, heavy duty stuff with a solid shelf on the bottom so you can put bags of compost and keep the floor clear, so you can always get to the mare's tail that always seems to keep coming up through the paving slabs, and just keep it tidy so there's always, you know, a free space to walk in and do your work. So this will be my potting shed come greenhouse. I might grow, you know, maybe 1 or 2 tomato plants, but I don't need to be putting the entire green side aside for tomatoes for the whole summer. I'd rather grow more greenery out there. So, because I've got a habit of doing one sowing and then getting to the end of that season and then thinking, I didn't sow my next lot, I've nothing to put in, there's no small plants left in the garden centre, they've all gone. And then before you know it, that's another season wasted where you could have had a successional sowing and you just didn't do it because you never got organised enough. So I'm going to get organised. This is going to be a proper production line in the greenhouse. And I need to keep growing my greens. You might have noticed I changed the name of my channel to Lorraine's Vegan Allotment and Kitchen. That's because I've recently become vegan and I'm doing a bit of activism and I'm trying to promote ethical veganism. So, you know, when I'm doing my allotments, you won't really notice much difference. The only main difference is I won't be buying manure or things like blood, fish and bone. I'll be finding vegan methods of gardening. So nothing's going to come into the plot that's come from an animal at all, if I can possibly help it. And I might start doing some cooking, and I've got an activism playlist as well for when I go out and meet people and chat with them about veganism. So yeah, I need to be growing more greens because I eat a lot of them and I need to push myself to eat even more. So I need to get more greens growing in this allotment. So that's my plan, make the greenhouse more of a production line, not just a dumping ground. And all these pots, you know, that are on this horrible plastic shelf, they can all be properly organised underneath the growing shelf, out of the way, organised, ready to get to when you want them. So yeah, that's the plan for the greenhouse. Well, thanks for checking in. I appreciate you coming back and not unsubscribing, because I seem to just drop off the face of the earth for 4 years. I'm alive and I'm well and everything's fine. I just wasn't allotmenting and I wasn't videoing the small amount of allotmenting that I was doing. But I'm back. I'm following all my old channels again that I used to watch obsessively, trying to learn how to grow fruit and veg. Well, I'm not growing fruit anymore, apart from my apple trees. But yeah, I'm back on it. I'm watching all the old favourites like Claire's Allotment and I can't remember the names now, my mind's gone blank. But yeah, I'm watching you all again. So thank you for being there, uploading videos when I wasn't. And thank you for sticking with me. So I'll hope to see you again next time. Okay, bye for now and Happy New Year. Right, take care everybody. Bye.